At 67, Margaret didn't think much would change. Her children were grown, the house was quiet, and the days, well, they just blurred into one another. She'd wake early, make coffee, sit by the window, and watch the same squirrel run along the same fence. Life was comfortable, but not full. Routine had replaced wonder. She didn't complain. She was grateful. A roof over her head, health, grandchildren who visited on holidays. But deep inside, there was a quiet ache. Not sadness, exactly. More like a whisper she couldn't quite name. A sense that something once precious had gone missing. Then, one rainy Sunday afternoon, while sorting through the attic for old blankets, she came across a box. Dusty, taped shut, labeled in faded ink, Maggie's Room, 1971. She smiled. Inside, she found forgotten trinkets, friendship bracelets, cassette tapes, postcards from summer camp. And then, beneath it all, a small wooden box. She opened it carefully. Inside, dried up tubes of paint, worn brushes, and a folded piece of watercolor paper. A half-finished painting, a girl under a tree, her face lit by sunlight. It all came flooding back. Back in high school, Margaret had loved to paint. She didn't care if it was good. She just loved how colors could tell stories, how the silence of a canvas could suddenly sing. But then came life, college, marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage. She packed away her paints, telling herself, I'll come back to it one day. But days turned to decades. That night, sleep didn't come easy. The next morning, she walked into the small craft store downtown. The bell above the door jingled. A young woman behind the counter looked up and smiled. Can I help you find something? Margaret hesitated, then said quietly, I think I'd like to start painting again. The woman beamed. Wonderful! Let's find you the perfect brushes. And so it began. At first, Margaret sat for hours, just holding the brush. Her hands trembled. She mixed colors too dark, spilled water, wasted paper. But still, she painted. Not for perfection, not for praise, but for the joy of watching color bloom where once there was nothing. She painted in the mornings, in the soft light by the window. She painted at night, when the world grew still. Each painting told a memory. The beach trip with her sister, the garden her mother once tended, the cat who used to curl on her lap. She wasn't just creating art. She was reconnecting with herself. One day, her daughter dropped by and saw a stack of paintings on the table. Mom, these are yours? Margaret nodded, slightly embarrassed. They're beautiful, her daughter whispered. You have to show people. With a little help from her tech-savvy grandson, she started an Instagram page, Maggie Paints 67. No filters, no fancy edits, just her work, her story. And people noticed. Comments came from all over. This reminds me of my grandma's kitchen. Your paintings bring peace to my day. I'm 72 and just started knitting again. Thank you for the courage. A local library invited her to do a small exhibit. Nothing grand, just a hallway lined with her art. On opening day, she stood quietly to the side, watching strangers stop, smile, even tear up. One little girl pointed at a painting of a swing set and whispered, "That looks like me." In that moment, Margaret felt something deep shift. Not pride, not success, but a quiet, glowing warmth, the feeling of being seen, of creating something that touched another soul. She hadn't just picked up a brush, she'd picked up a part of herself that had been waiting all these years. At 67, she wasn't starting over. She was continuing a story she had once paused. So, if you're listening and thinking, "I'm too old, it's too late, I missed my chance," let Margaret be your reminder. You are never too old to begin again. You're never too far gone to return to something you once loved. The world still needs what only you can bring. Start clumsy, start small, but start, because on the other side of fear is a life still waiting to be lived.